Hello and welcome back. Another video, another logic game, once again from CAT23. This is slot 2, and we have the same couple of agendas running. Number one agenda is noticing that how easy, let's say, this particular set is. Very doable. Most people will be able to solve it if they can decide that this is the right set to do, right? This is probably set number 3 in the order. So you might have to preview and ignore the other sets and then try this out, and you'll figure out that it's a very doable set, what I call a zero prep set, right? That is our super agenda at this point of your training. That finally my goal is to hit the B school, clear the cutoff, right? That means I want to do stuff which is very easy and doable. At least that I definitely want to nail down and then move on from there, right? So if you just manage this set, you would cross 90 percentile. If you manage the other easy or let's say reasonably easy set, you cross 99 percentile. You try out the tough one, slightly, I mean, not even tough, but let's say which requires some effort, what I call the effort set, and you're beyond 99.5 and ahead of that, right? So let's dive into the game, but keep these agendas in mind that this is a reminder of how easy stuff can be. And then obviously we run our logical process and all the things that go into it, reading the story, retaining the story, working with the data, making a nice good table, figuring out the data very clearly, right? Keeping good account of data, which is bookkeeping. So all those processes will get repeated and reminded again, right? So let's dive into the story. I hope you have read the set and tried it by yourself as well. Three participants, Akhil, Bimal and Chatur, participate in a random draw competition for 5 days. Every day, each participant randomly picks up a ball numbered between 1 and 9. The number on the ball determines his score on that day. Such an easy story so far. But I am aware that under pressure or under the title that this is a cat set, you might, a lot of people might read this easy information also 2 3 times because they're already anticipating a lot of difficulty. So that is definitely a skill to work on, that do not assume things are difficult till they become difficult for you, because so far the story is very easy. There is A, B and C. There are 3 characters only. They are randomly picking up a ball and a ball has a score of 1 to 9. I might not even need to read this information twice, right? The number on the ball determines his score on that day. The total score of a participant is the sum of his scores attained in the 5 days. Okay, great. So day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5 is the total score. Very easy definition again. The total score of a day is the sum of participants' score on that day. Total score of a day. That means if Akhil, let's say, got 7 and Bimal got 8 and Chatur got 8, so the total will be 7, 8, 15 and 8, 23, right? And notice again, what am I doing? I read a definition, I took some imaginary numbers and ran the process, and I'm letting my brain warm up as I read along with the story, right? Uh, the 2 day average on a day, except on day 1, because on day 1 you can't have 2 days, is the average of the total scores of that day and of the previous day. Okay, this you might need to read twice if we're talking about the average. And if I look at the table and I scan around, I see table 1 tells me 2 day average for days 2 through 5, because day 1 you only have 1 day's data. But day 2 average is 30. What does this mean? The total is 15. We're talking about 2 days. So 15 into 2, my total will be 30. That means day 1 plus day 2 total is 30, right? That's the information. If I combine this information with the table, that's what I get. One more example is also given. For example, if the total score of day 1 and day 2 are 25 and 20, then the 2 day average on day 2 is calculated as 22.5. Again, a very, very easy story so far to capture and retain, right? Table 1 gives the 2 day average for days 2 through 5. So I can actually start playing with this a little bit, that there will be a day 1 and day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. I know that D1 and D2 total is 15 into 2, 30, right? So the total after 2 days is 30. I'm just trying out a number, let's say 15 and 15, right? Just to so that the story is coming into my grasp and or my mental grasp right now. So I'm just saying, okay, it could be something like this. And then it says day 3. That means the average for this is the average for day 2 and day 3. the total will be 31. That means the total of day 2 and day 3 is 31. So I'm writing the total here. If I assume this to be 15, this would be 16. So something like this will happen, and you will say, okay, no, this could be 16 and 14, it could be 14 and 16, and you might think a little extra, but right now I'm just warming up to the story. Okay, something like this will happen. And the moment you are unsure, okay, I do not know whether it's 15 or 15, there might be a tendency to think, oh my god, I might have to work out a lot of data. But once again, that is you anticipating difficulty when there is, so far you don't know whether what the story is going to be, right? Which is a very important part of the game. Do not start thinking extra and start tiring yourself. Just try it out. Say, okay, I have seen enough sets already. I know things get worked out in no time. So let me just focus on the data given, 31, and the total will be 32. This 32 means something plus day 3 plus day 4 is 32. Similarly, day 5, that means day 4 and day 5 total is going to be 34. Day 4 plus day 5, the sum is going to be 34, right? So I read the story and I just played with the data. I'm not looking for anything concrete. I'm just saying, and when I did that, I saw that the calculations were fairly easy so far, right? Just had to multiply this by 2 and the story was quite straightforward. So I got that part. Furthermore, more details in the story. Participants are ranked each day with the person having the maximum score being awarded the minimum rank. That is a very easy idea. Whoever has the highest score has the top rank, and ranks work backwards. 1 is the highest rank, right? Again, commonsensical information. If there is a tie, all participants with the tied score are awarded the best available rank. For example, if on a day Akhil, Bimal and Chatur score 8, 7 and 7 respectively, then their ranks will be 1, 2, 2. So very easy idea. If the scores are same, the rank is going to be same. And again, as I read this story, I'm getting a couple of examples also, 8, 7, 7. So I have to figure out maybe who got what score. But the good news is there are only 3 characters in the story, right? And I haven't even reached the rules part of the story where more information will be given and it will help me eliminate. Because right now, once again, if I'm overthinking, I will say, bro, 1 to 9, so many possibilities, how will I guess, right? So again, do not do that extra thinking, just keep following the story. So, and then it says these ranks are given in table 2. So I look at the table anywhere. For day 1, Akhil got rank 1, Bimal got rank 2, Chatur got rank 3. That means he got the highest score. He got the second, he got the least score. And the story is similar in different on different days. Day 3, Chatur got rank 1 and the other 2 got the same rank. That means they got the same score in the story. So I've read the data and I just looked at the table again, just warmed up with it so that when the actual data comes in, the story is already in my brain. Now we are getting into the information, the rules territory, which will help me further pare down the data, eliminate a lot of options. Chatur always scores in a multiple of 3. Okay, we are thinking of a story from 1 to 9. Multiples of 3 could be 3 or it could be 6 or 9. Wow, that means Chatur can only score a 3 or a 6 or a 9, which has drastically limited my story already. Furthermore, his score on day 2 is the unique highest score in the competition. His minimum score is observed only on day 1. So day 1 Chatur got rank 3 and he got the minimum score. Out of 3, 6 and 9, chances are minimum will be 3. So I'm getting some ideas. His minimum score is observed only on day 1 and it matches Akhil's score on day 4. Okay. So I've got some piece of information. To use this, I'll have to fill out the table. We'll play with that in a second. Let me read the other rules as well because they might open up something else for me. The total score on day 3 is the same as the total score on day 4. So let me get into that total story. I already figured that out. For the day 1 and day 2, the total is going to be 30. For day 2 and day 3, the total is going to be 31. And for day 3 and day 4, the total is going to be 32. What am I doing? Multiplying everything by 2. This day 2 means day 1 plus day 2. Day 3 means day 2 plus day 3 and so on and so forth. We know the story already. And for similarly for the sum of d4 and d5 is going to be 17 into 2, 34. Now this part of the story tells me the total score on day 3 is the same as the total score on day 4. I know the total of D3 and D4 is 32. It is saying it's the same score. That means A and A. That means A plus A is equal to 32. That means A is equal to 16. Which is a great step for me because I know this is 16 and this is 16. 16 plus day 5, day 4 plus day 5 is 34. 16 plus 18 is going to give me 34. This is 31. This is the sum of day 2 and day 3. That means this plus this gives you 31. This has to be 15. The sum of this and this is going to be 30. So this has to be 15. Wow. Right? And that's what I meant by don't think extra in the beginning and don't scare yourself by thinking, oh my god, this could have had many options. This one simple rule eliminated all of those stories for me. And I've got the total for day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, etc. Bimal score are the same on day 1 and day 3. Okay, so wherever the Bimal story is, and again let's just call them A, B and C. This is where I'll put the individual scores. So Bimal score on day 1 and day 3, day 1 and day 3 is the same. Whatever it turns out to be, we'll see in a second, right? Now, I figured this, but again, remember I ignored this rule earlier, and let me go back to it. And again, that is a common DILR activity that you might have to read the rules multiple times again and again, because the first rule might not give you something. The second rule opens up the table. Then you go back to the first rule again. I hope you have encountered that enough in your practice rounds already, right? So now let me go back to this. His score on day 2 is the unique highest score in the competition. His minimum score is observed only on day 1. Let me say the minimum score is 6. I mean, the idea would be to say minimum score is 3, but let's say the minimum score is 6. Is that possible? If this is 6 and the total is 15, that means the sum of A and B has to be 9, because 9 plus 6 will give you 15. But C is the third ranking character here. That means his score, the score of A and B has to be more than 6. So minimum this has to be 7, let's say, and minimum this has to be 8. Is that possible? This is giving me 15 plus 6, 21. My sum was limited to 15. So this 6 story, no matter what I do, cannot work out for me, right? So 6 is not going to work. That tells me that this is definitely going to be 3. I have 3. I want a total of 15. That means B and A sum has to be 12. Okay. Let me again start with an exam. Let me try out the story. Can it be 4? I needed 12, so I have 4. This could be 8. Great. The story works out for me. But is this the only possible story? What if this is 5? So 3 plus 5, 8, and then if this is 7, I will get 15 again. That means even this is working for me. What about 6? Try and put 6 here. So 3 plus 6, 9, and then again 6. But then they cannot be 6 together because I know they have separate ranks. That means 1A is definitely higher than everybody else, right? So 3, I started with the story, can't be 3, so I tried 4. Then I got one story. I tried 5, I got another story. I cannot try 6, right? So trying it out, I know right now I've got multiple stories, but as I play with the table a little bit more, this will get resolved, right? Now what else is given to me? His minimum score is observed only on day 1. I use that piece of information, and it matches Akhil's score on day 4. On day 4, Akhil's score, that means, is going to be 3. Now focus on day 4 data. On day 4, Bimal is the highest, and that means Chatur is not the highest. So Chatur can't be 9. Chatur has to be 3 or 6. But he can't be 3 because his minimum score was observed only on day 1. That means Chatur has to be 6. 3 plus 6, 9 gives me 3 plus 6 gives me 9. I want a total of 16. So this has to be 7. Great. So using another piece of information, I got another column full. Let me look at rule 1 again. And again, your order of doing it might be different. You might use one rule first and then the other rule later. But overall, all of these steps have to be taken to fill out the table. So his score on day 2 is the unique highest score in the competition. Can the highest score be 6? Because I already have a higher score than that. It said it's the highest unique score in the competition. So this pretty much tells me it has to be 9. Because Chatur only had 3 options, 3, 6 and 9, right? And let me also look at the ranking of day 2. On ranking of day 2, Chatur is the highest and Akhil has to be second highest and Bimal has to be the lowest, right? Okay, let me again try out the story. Can this, or let me try with Akhil, can this be 6? Because if I do 9 plus 6, I will get a total of 15. This will have to be 0. So this 6 is not possible, right? Can this be 5? Yes, this can be 5. A will get the second rank and B I can give 1. So this story will work for me. But there will be other stories as well. 6 I tried, 6 will not work, 5 has worked, 4 will also work. 9 for 13 and this will have to be 2. Again, can this be 3 and 3? No, it cannot be 3 and 3. Why not? Because they cannot have the same score. So once again, in this particular story, I'm left with options of if this is 1, this will be 5. If this is 2, this will be 4, or vice versa, however you want to read it, right? Let's look at day 3 now. I had some piece of information about day 1 and day 3 that Bimal's score are the same on day 1 and day 3. So 4 comma 5, this will have to be 4 or 5. But there is something else also interesting about day 3. Day 3, the ranks are identical for Akhil and Bimal. That means they got the same score. And if I think of Chatur, he can't have a 3 because he had the lowest only on day 1. And he can't have 9 because it was the unique highest in the tournament. So it will have to be 6. In fact, even if you want to try 9, because let's say the language is not very clear and you might have a 9 because Chatur is the same guy only scoring the highest unique score. So if this was 9, you want a total of 16. These are identical. So you need a total of 7 from these two boxes. This is A, this is A. 2A is going to be 7. A is going to be 3.5, which is not possible. That's why I'm stuck with 6 only. And I need a total of 16. That means this will be 5 and this will be 5. Wow, this and this have to be identical. That means this 4 is ruled out. So this 3 plus 4, 7 plus 8, 15 story is not going to work for me. My story will become 3, 5 and 7. So now let's just look at the last day, day 5 column. I know Chatur is not the highest, so it can't be 9 and it can't be 3, so I'm left with 6 only. Now I need a total of 18. I have 6 already, so I need 12 more. Can this be, this is the highest, can this be 7 and can this be 5? Yeah, that is possible. 7 plus 5, 12 plus 6, 18. What else can happen? Can this be 8? Because I know Bimal is the highest, right? So I have to keep Bimal high. Can this be 8 and can this be 4? Can this be 9? I think because of this rule again that this was the highest unique score in the competition, it can't be 9. Because it unique means it happened only once. So I'm left with these options. This is definitely fixed. It will be either 7, 5 or 8, 4. I have the same problem on day 2 as well. It will be either 1, 5 or 2, 4. I do not have any other hints to work this out. And once again, that is a challenge at CAT level, which a unique part of CAT problems is that even after you work out all the rules, you still might have incomplete data. But that's where the questions will come in and they will give me further information. But whatever work I could do with the table is done. I've got some definite stories and some uncertain stories. This will be either 915 or 924. This will be either 678 or 684. Rest everything is locked in. So now we can try out the questions. So I've captured the table here. A, B and C are my characters. Rest everything is there. What is Akhil's score on day 1? Akhil's score on day 1 is 7. Once again, a reminder that this question could have been done earlier because this we got in the steps early. So if you're keeping a parallel eye on the questions, maybe, and let's say if not everything worked out, this question was fairly easy to work out, right? Who attains the maximum total score? So let me add them up. So total score will be in this direction. I have to add row wise. 3 plus 9, 12 plus 6, 18 plus 6, 24 plus 6, 30. So the total will be 30. Here the score will be, and I want to maximize. So let's say 5 plus 2, 7 plus 5, 12 plus 7, 19 plus 8, 27. So even if I add the highest values, I get a total of 27. 7 plus 5, 12 plus 5, 17 plus 3, 20 plus 5, 25. Even if I add the higher values, it's 25. And that's it. So who got the highest score? Chatur got the highest score. I do not know the definite score for A and B, but I know whatever is their score, because the other scores of A and B will be lower than 25 and 27. C is definitely higher than everybody else. Now, what is the minimum possible total score of BIML? So let's focus on BIML. 5, I want to minimize the score, so I'll take a 1 here. So 5 plus 1, 6, plus 5, 11. 11 plus 7, 18. And 18, again, I'll take the smaller value, which is 7. I'll get 25. So what is the minimum possible score of BIML? My answer is going to be 25, right? So as usual, we have seen this umpteen number of times. The moment you figure out the table, the questions are not too challenging. And an incomplete or an uncertain table, multiple stories, right? Building, testing cases is the skill that we call it. We practice this enough. So I'm okay with the table being like this and the rest of the data coming from the questions or not being needed, right? And this is the kind of question which further eliminates the data from the table. If the total score of BIML is a multiple of 3, what is the score of Akhil on day 2? This question also tells me that if I previewed the question before trying out the set, that the whole table will not be worked out. I will have multiple scenarios, right? Because I know for most people, this uncertainty is a major problem. But if I accept it, if I've seen 50, 60 such cases, then I'm ready for any such situation. So what is the BIML score is a multiple of 3. So let's see. I try out both the stories. 5 plus 1, 6. 6 plus 5, 11. 11 plus 7, 18. 18 plus 8, 26. 18 plus 7, 25. So if I try the 5 one story, neither of these data is working for me. So 5 one story is not going to happen. 5 and 2, 7. 7 plus 5, 12. 12 plus 7, 19. 19 plus 8 gives me 27, which is a multiple of 3. 19 plus 7 will give me 26, which I don't want. I want a multiple of 3. That means the story that I'm going for, this 1 will not work, this will be 2. And this 7 will not work, this will be 8. That means this one story is not working, that means this 5 will also not work. This is the version of the story 9, 2 and 4. And similarly, if 7 is not working, this 5 will not work because they were the same part of they were part of the same story, right? Which has opened up other things for me, which says, now it says, what is the score of Akhil on day 2? On day 2, Akhil, this is Akhil, B and C. On day 2, Akhil's score is going to be 4. If he had just asked me what is Akhil's score on day 2, then I would have said cannot be determined because I had 5 or 4 as the options. But because he gave me this story, it helped me eliminate one of the versions of the story. And let's try out the last question. It is slightly tricky, but not for anybody who's willing to play the game, right? Because some people might give up halfway after trying. But if you just look at the data 1 second more, you'll figure out that this question can be done as easily as the rest of them. If Akhil attains a total score of 24, Akhil's total score is 24. Once again, very similar to the game we played earlier. So let me try and get to a sum of 24. 7 plus 5, 12. 12 plus 5, 17. 17 plus 3, 20. And 20 plus 4, 24. That means if I go for this 7, 5, 5, 3 and the 4 story, I get 24. But if I try 7, 5, 12 plus 5, 17 plus 3, 20 plus 5, I will not get to 24. So if I am starting with 5, this has to be 4. Okay, great, I got the 24. But let me try out the other because I also have this version. 7 plus 4, 11 plus 5, 16 plus 3, 19. 19 plus 4 gives me 23. I don't want that. 19 plus 5 gives me 24. So this 7, 4, 5, 3 and 5 story will also work for me. And notice just this 5 and 4 and 4 and 5 has changed. Rest of the story is same. Both the stories are giving you a total of 24. So you might think that, okay, I couldn't, even with this value, I couldn't figure out which one to nail down, which story is true. Because 5 is also working, 4 is also working. When 5 here, then 4 here. When 4 here, then 5 here, right? But look at the BIML story. and try the same process. If it is 5, this will have to be 1. So 5, 1 for this particular story, let's say 5, 1, 6 plus 5, 11 plus 7, 18 and 8 and 18 plus what should I do? If I'm saying I'm going with this particular story, that means 4 is the case. That means I have to pick 8. So try it out again. If I'm going for this story, my story will be 5. I'm trying out, let's say 1, 5, 7, and last one has to be 8 because the 4 is locked in. That means this 8 is also locked in. I don't have to try 8 and 7 for this particular story, right? So 5, 1, 6, 5, 11, 11 plus 7, 18 and 18 plus 8, the sum is going to be 26. So if I try this story, if this story is locked in, if this is 5, this has to be 1. And if this is 4, this has to be 8. The sum comes out to be comes out as 26. But what about the other story? If this is 4, this will have to be 2. So this will be 5, 2. In between the terms are constant, 5 and 7. And if this is 5, this will be 7. The total 5 to 7 plus 5, 12 plus 7, 19 plus 7, 26. That means even though the story is uncertain, the final result still comes out as 26 only. So don't give up just by looking at the data. Try out the other story as well, and you will get this easy question in your pocket, right? And cross over to 92, 93 percentile. So that's it. We are done with the challenge. I hope the lessons are very, very clear. This is essentially deductive reasoning, right? Because they told me the score was a total of 32, which opened up this for me, which opened up everything for me. This particular step also told me that the set was very, very easy because it opened up a lot of information for me. Otherwise, my life would have been doubly, triply complicated because this could be different numbers. Then I tried out the rules and I tried out, and again the Chatur story that it can only be 3, 9, 6 opened up a lot of information for me. Then it was basic addition, right? If this is 3, how much can this be? How much can this be? Trying it out, okay, can this be 9? No, it cannot be 9 because some rule will be broken. So those are your basic deductive reasoning skills. I think solving the table, especially if I give you 10 minutes to 12 minutes, will not be too much of a challenge. You might have to look at it from a couple of directions, but again, I think it was definitely a doable table to figure out. And then the moment you figured it out, then the questions are fairly easy. So probably the easiest set of the second slot. And the moment you nail this set down, even if you take 15 minutes, you're crossing over to 93 percentile, which is the important thing, right? And notice the taste of an easy set. Notice how it feels when you start solving it. You get the first few steps very, very quickly. The language is easy to grab. It's not overwhelmingly long data to figure out, right? A small table to figure out, just like we saw in slot 1 as well. So this is it for this particular video. See you soon in the next one, where slightly more challenging problem and then even more slightly challenging in terms of maybe the time required, the effort required. Intelligence wise, there's the same effort required everywhere. Just the number of steps increase. Here the number of steps were also quite low. You did a little bit of game and the table was done. If you were into it, it would be done in 2 minutes, right? Because even with trial and error, the numbers were quite easy to figure out. Because in a difficult set, this could be 3 stories or 4 stories, and then your brain gets exhausted, right? So I hope the lesson is very clear. Look for easy stuff and of course, master your basic deductive reasoning. So this is it for this session. I'll see you very soon in the next one.